This conference will now be recorded.
Alrighty. And thanks to the other people. I see a few more people joining now, so we will get things kicked off. So, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm calling this annual meeting of the Stephentown Library to order at 6:06. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jennifer Peabody, and I'm the newly appointed president of the board. Very newly appointed, so please bear with me as I'm still learning. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this year's annual meeting. We're excited to see some of our patrons and former board members in attendance, and grateful that we have town leaders and representatives from other community organizations like the school district join us as well. I appreciate that, especially on a day that ended up being pretty decent weather. So as a matter of protocol, we'll ask you to please keep your microphone on mute when you're not speaking. There will be time for questions at the end of each report that we give, and there's a time for public comment at the end of the meeting as well. And if you do have questions or want to have a comment, please just identify yourself by name so everyone's aware of who's speaking. As required by the state, the purpose of this meeting is to review the year 2020. So our reports will reflect that. But we'll also touch on current status and a little bit about what is coming up ahead in 2021. So as the board was discussing the annual meeting, we realized that despite all of the challenges of 2020, the themes that we continued to come back to were connection and gratitude. 2020 was an unprecedented year. This time last year, we had to cancel the annual meeting. Things were shut down, and we were all still learning how we were going to manage things in the middle of a global pandemic. In many ways, things feel very different than April 2020. Thankfully, things feel more hopeful and positive and less scary. But we are still all struggling to figure out what's the new normal and how do we move forward. So we're grateful that we can connect this evening with you all. None of us think virtual connection is as good as in person. And one of the things that the pandemic really drove home was the importance of places and vehicles for connection, like libraries. So I think we all have missed the opportunities. In fact, a couple of us were saying as we were waiting for the meeting to begin that we missed the opportunities to bump into people, to talk to our neighbors at the library, which many of us did. It's also, we miss seeing things like seeing kids get together and learn new things and have fun. We miss meeting new people and learning new things together. And the library was one place where all of that happened in our community. So we are looking forward to being able to make some of that happen again as it's safe to do so. The pandemic took away some of our opportunities for connection at an individual level, but it opened some opportunities to collaborate at an organizational level. I think in part because it really drove home that we are all in this together. It's unusual to have a circumstance where everyone, the whole community, is experiencing the same exact challenge. We were all struggling with the same fear and uncertainty. We all had all of our normal routines turned upside down at the same time. We all suddenly learned what Zoom is. So the pandemic really illustrated to us that we are all in the same boat. And the best way not to sink and not to go around in circles, but to head towards the safety of shore is to, as our town supervisor Larry likes to say, all be rowing in the same direction. So we want to use this opportunity to thank the other organizations in the community that had their oars in the water, worked through the challenges with us. So having tortured that metaphor quite enough, I just wanted to mention a few of the ways that we work together that we might not have in the same way if we weren't dealing with the pandemic. So in no particular order, And I wanted to start out by thanking the Stephentown Volunteer Fire Department. They provided the fire hall for 2 blood drives that we hosted with the American Red Cross. And as many of you know, the need for blood was acute this year, and having a local opportunity to donate was really helpful. Appointments that were for both the August and the December drive were fully booked. And I'll take the moment to make a pitch for the upcoming blood drive happening on April 29th, because I understand once again, the Red Cross is struggling to have enough donations coming in right now. So go to Facebook, sign up for an appointment on the 29th. We also were able to work with the fire department on holiday gift giveaway in December. So we were able to add the Rensselaer County toys that are donated that normally we help distribute with food pantry. We added those to the toy drive that Dollar General organized with the fire department. And that allowed the fire department to give out over 250 toys to 26 families. And of course, we also worked with the school district to help identify the families that might need some support that way. So we really appreciate it being able to work with them in that way this year. And the fire department also provided a letter of support for a grant I'll be mentioning later. Mentioning the school district again, I know that they were doing so much to try to find ways to keep the kids having some special occasions in their life, having some normalcy, having some fun. And the library was happy to participate in the Light Up the Night event. We also had Kim began a virtual story time for pre-K children, and we're working with the district on an additional story walk, which is wonderful. So we're really grateful to be able to have a good relationship with the school district as well. The food pantry, they helped us with the summer food program that we run in the summer, that obviously, because we were able to, the food pantry was able to help distribute the surplus supplies so things would not go to waste. Also piloted a program with them, a meal kit take and make activity that was something that would provide a healthy, easy recipe and all the ingredients to make that. And we were able to distribute those at the pantry, but also at the library as an activity. This year, the Stephentown Historical Society and the library helped support each other's summer fundraising events, the car wash and a bake sale. We held them on the same day, and we cross-promoted each other's events. So that was a good way to work together when things were not, when things were just starting to figure out how we were going to do anything that was in person. And I'd like to thank them because their photo albums provide all of the fodder for our popular Facebook posts, the Throwback Thursday Facebook posts. So I'm very grateful that they have had those albums available to us for all this time. The Corkscrew Rail Trail, they agreed to the first installation of our story walk on the trail. That was a big success, really popular with families, and it was a way to have a low-risk outdoor activity for kids and families to do. So we were so grateful we were able to work with them on that. The newly formed Stephentown Community Association has worked with us on the community survey I'll be mentioning and that grant, and we thank them for their letter of support. And of course, the town board for working with us to adjust the youth committee activities to adhere to pandemic protocols, but also still find ways to have some fun for our kids. The pumpkin carving at Halloween was an example of how we have adjusted some of our activities. We thank Larry because he donated the pumpkins. And we had over 80 pumpkins on display that community members and kids carved on their own safely, and then we had out for display, which was terrific. And the town has been very supportive of the community survey as well. So I just wanted to kick this meeting off by taking the opportunity to thank all of those people and organizations for their commitment to the community and for working with us in this past year to try to make things as good as possible during a really challenging time. I've just mentioned the community survey several times, and I just want to take a minute to share a little bit about that because it is another example of collaboration. So the survey idea came out of the library's strategic planning process, and initially was a library-specific survey we were going to conduct on our own. But as we talked through the questions we hoped to answer, we realized that other organizations in the community probably had similar questions. So we thought we should see if we could collaborate and broaden the research to be more inclusive and something that would be helpful for the town board and for other organizations serving the community. Of course, expanding the survey increased the scope and the work and the cost. So we began looking for funding options that would allow other organizations to participate at no cost, which led us to apply for a grant. And we're very happy to announce tonight that the library was awarded a Libraries Transforming Communities Focus on Small and Rural Libraries grant from the American Library Association. So we're really thrilled to be able to get that. It's going to allow us to conduct this expanded community-wide survey that will assess residents' levels of awareness, satisfaction, and engagement with the community overall and with organizations that serve the community. And then also help to identify ways to increase satisfaction and engagement. So we're really excited to move forward with that. Stay tuned. There'll be more coming out about that, and it'll be moving forward in the late spring and early summer. So again, we're just really glad to be able to work with our other community organizations and the town board on a project like this. So now, without further ado, I will make a few introductions, and then we will get into some meeting business and some reports. So first of all, I'd like to introduce Kim, our wonderful director, who along with the staff this year has done a terrific job trying to find ways to continue to serve our patrons during the pandemic. So from electronic materials, curbside service, virtual programs, take and make activities, contests. I feel like Kim and the staff have tried everything and a lot of these projects have been a lot more work than some of our normal ways of doing business at the library. So we really appreciate all of the extra efforts that you and the staff have put in this year. We can do a quick intro of the trustees. So let's begin. Scott, our vice president, also chair of our fundraising committee and our most ardent baker. You may know him from his granola or maple syrup. Melanie. Melanie is the former board president and current treasurer. She's been very generous and gracious, mentoring me and bringing me up to speed on the duties, so I thank her for that. Rebecca, the chair of our very busy youth committee, particularly this year as we figure out summer. We've got Ed. Ed chairs our strategic planning committee. It's doing some critical work right now and working through an action plan that came out of that group. We've got Sarah, who served as treasurer in the past year and chairs the brand and marketing committee. And she has taken the lead on the community survey project. And let's see, Robin, just double checking my boxes here. Robin was not able to join us. She was having some internet connectivity issues today. So, well, I think that was everybody. We also have some of our former board members in attendance, which we're very glad to see. Oh, I didn't skip you, Tom. I have a special thing to say. So we also have Tom, sorry, a longtime trustee who is retiring this month. So our former board member, board president, Scott Manhennick, is going to say a few words about Tom, and Nettie is here as well. But first, Melanie is going to share some appreciation for two other board members who left this year, Marcia, who is here in attendance, and Alice. Melanie?
Thank you, Jen. So like Jen was acknowledging our collaboration with other members in the community this year, since this last year has been unusual and we weren't able to have our normal goodbyes with board members who have left in the past year, we just wanted to take some extra time to say thank you to them for their service. So we're grateful to have Marcia joining us again tonight. And we are grateful for Marcia's service on the board. She grew up in Stephentown and has been a part of the library community throughout her life. Her family has a history in Stephentown, and the board was grateful to learn from that experience and perspective, since it's something that the rest of us, or most of the rest of us, don't have in our history. Marcia fully participated in board activities during her time with us, even though our meetings and events often prevented her from getting a good night's sleep before her work in the wee hours of the morning. Marcia supported our bake sales, our brunches, and our fundraising events. She sometimes filled in as secretary when we needed somebody last minute. She supported our scholarship committee and our winner search each year for finding someone to present the scholarship to. And with her experience in the medical field, she served as a great asset in outlining realistic and safe goals for our reopening plan last year when the library was trying to figure out the challenge of how to serve the community along with everyone else. So Marcia, we're grateful for all of your service and time that you shared with us on the board. And again, it's good to see you, and we're looking forward to getting to see you in person again. And it looks like Alice wasn't able to join us tonight, although she was hoping to. But Alice served on our board for just a little over a full 4-year term, but her connections with the library run much deeper than that. Alice and her late husband, Bert, were involved in the library community for years. A special legacy that they left with us are the many beautiful plants and shrubs in our gardens and surrounding our building. Alice served as the chair to our grounds committee and kept our gardens looking tidy and beautiful. Alice also served as our board secretary, keeping track of our meetings and responsibilities. And we were sad to lose Alice's delicious cooking skills as we enjoyed her recipes at our bake sales and our gatherings that we used to be able to have, like dinner after our board meetings. Alice supported our library programs, many of our library programs, and in particular, my kids always enjoyed Alice and Nettie's presentation of Hanukkah each year. And although I have tried very hard, my rendition of Alice's latke recipe has never measured up, and my kids remind me of that continuously. But we appreciate Alice's investment in our community and her service on the board as well.
Thanks, Melanie. Scott, do you want to go ahead and say a few words, maybe on camera?
Am I not on camera? How about that? Does that help? There I am. Is everything working now? Yes? Okay.
Yes, we can see you now.
Didn't know I'm saying anything. You're all muted. Thank you for having me back briefly to talk about some of the people I worked with during my time on the board, especially in my 2 years as president. Not to step on anyone else's toes, but one of the things I really liked saying when Marcia was on the board was that she won the scholarship and that we were able to have her head up that scholarship committee. So I used to say that all the time when I was president, that former winner was chairing that committee. So that was always fun. I get to talk about Tom and Nettie, my old friends from the board. So I'm going to start with Tom and try and read the scrawl that I put on this piece of paper. Tom was both president and treasurer when I joined the board about 5 years ago, which he pointed out to us many times was probably not a great idea. He and I worked together when I was his vice president and on a long list of buildings and grounds improvements, grants. I helped him create the committee system that is in place still today, which helped us be more of a working board. That was something that was important for him to implement. And a variety of legal issues. He was always the one that dealt with our lawyer, including finally having a contract with our director, which was something that we wanted to have in place for a long time. He always gave his time freely and openly, whether it was an on-site project or an event or serving lunch to the veterans on Veterans Day, which is something that he helped get started in our reconnection with the veterans. And I want to just thank Tom for his service to SML and the community during his time. And we presented him with a few tokens of our appreciation earlier today, which hopefully he'll enjoy. There you go. Cheers. Thank you, Tom. Nettie, of course, was my partner in crime for every major accomplishment we had during my time on the board. From the original Celebrate Stephentown to revamping our budget process and scholarship program to dealing with all the transitional issues that we had, hiring a new director when she and I were there working 20 hours a week when Kim was just starting out. It's hard to believe Kim was just starting out, but she was just starting out at one point, and we were getting her up to speed and just figuring that out. Her work as treasurer was nothing short of transformational to the future of our library, and it was my great pleasure to work with her all these years. So I'm sorry I missed your departure, Nettie, and thank you for all of our time together. I kept it briefer than Melanie. I didn't know we had so much time, so I hope that's okay.
That's perfect. Thank you so much for coming and saying those great words. And Nettie, do you want to say something? I see your hand.
I have definitely. I have to add to Marcia that she is the best navigator that you could ever want when you want to go traveling from library to library. She kept me from getting lost, and I was able to follow her directions, and I never got into an argument about it, which was superior. As for Scott and Tom, those were good years, guys. We worked our asses off, but you know what? We got a lot done, and it was an honor for me to serve with all of you. And Melanie, you're something else, lady. Working with you was also phenomenal. So I'm missing all of you tremendously. I'm loving it out here, but haven't met anybody to replace any of you. So come on out and visit.
Nettie, it's great to see you, at least virtually. We miss you as well. And we need to move on with the business meeting, but I do want to just say one other thing, which is I hope people understand from these comments just what a great board we have had and how committed all of the board members are. It is, as I think Scott mentioned, a working board, and the committee system that he mentioned and such. People are doing a lot of work, and it's very much appreciated. But it feels like a great team effort between the board, Kim, the staff, to really make an impact in the community. So thank you to everybody who's currently and who formerly adding to that effort.
Can I throw in a very short 2 cents that this is a really remarkable, you folks are a really remarkable bunch of people. And we could not have accomplished what we did without your help. And it's just, I have the most people in this small town that I've ever felt friendly with, as compared with Albany or Boston or wherever. It's a really remarkable community. And because this is being recorded, I'm trying to keep my descriptors clean. But Nettie said something about worked our asses off, and that's why people might have thought I offered half-assed solutions to some things when I was president, perhaps. But you do your best. I see Kim shaking her head, going, "Oh God!" But anyway, thank you all. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Tom. And Kim does have the controls over the mutes, so just keep that in mind. Okay, we're going to move along now. So next on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the last year's meeting. So I believe if there are no questions or comments about the minutes, if someone would like to make a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes, Jen.
Okay, and do we have a second? Okay, Ed seconds. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, and then next up is the election of new and returning trustees, and Scott Weiner is going to handle that for us. Scott?
I see that I have 5 minutes to run an election, and as we know, running elections is really easy. So basically, as you all know, library is managed and directed by a board of trustees elected by the library community. We're an association library, and that means that the members of the association library who are over the age of 16 can vote. And basically what we do is vote at the annual meeting. Nominations for trustees are made by a nominating committee or can be made on the floor at the annual meeting. The nominating committee of the Board of Trustees has nominated a slate of 2 candidates to fill the positions for the board. Both nominees were originally appointed by the board to fill open positions for board seats, and now their term of appointment either needs to be renewed or extended at the annual meeting. Jen Peabody, our current president, was nominated in December of 2020 to fill a vacant seat on the board. The term she has been nominated for will expire on April 30th, 2022. So that's 1 board seat. There are no other nominations currently, and I might as well ask the assemblage here whether anyone wants to nominate another candidate for this position which we're trying to fill tonight. Hearing no one say anything, we'll move forward with the vote for Jen Peabody. I don't have everyone on video, but there are no other candidates for this position. So I'm basically just going to ask for a voice vote. And obviously, if anyone says yes, then Jen will be elected because she will have the majority of all the votes. So for filling this position, which runs through April 30th, 2022, all in favor of Jen's election for this position, say aye.
Aye.
I,
Hearing everyone say aye, or at least everyone who's voting saying aye, she wins. Moving on to the next, yes. Moving on to the next position, in December 2020, Robin Catalano was also appointed by the board to fill a different open board position. That board position ends on April 30th of this month. Nevertheless, we need to take a vote with respect to filling out her term, which goes probably another 2 weeks, and then filling out a 4-year full term, which would end April 2025. At this point, I would ask whether anyone on the floor would like to nominate someone else for both filling out the 2-week term and similarly the next 4-year term for which he is up for election. Are there any other nominations? Hearing no other nomination, then we'll proceed to a vote. All in favor of Robin filling out her current position, as well as the additional 4-year term, say aye.
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 Fair enough. So we have filled 2 other positions. There is another open nomination that is an open position for the board. So should anyone like to nominate someone to fill that position, they can do so now. Otherwise, that position will remain unfilled. The board may find and is looking for additional candidates to serve And if we find someone ready, willing, and able to serve, we will appoint them. Otherwise, but in any event, I open the floor for a nomination of a candidate for that position. Does anyone have a nomination? Hearing nothing, our election has been concluded. Congratulations to the winners, and I'm done here.
Thank you very much, Scott. A well-run election.
The only one, well, actually, it's probably, I can't say the only one this year. This year's not done. Better than last year's, though.
All right, and now we are up to our director's report. So Kim, we'll turn the floor over to you.
Okay, so this year, I don't know if people have access to my director's report, seeing as how I only just finished it a couple hours ago, because I forgot just how extensive I had to go into things, but this year was definitely a tough one. We started off 2020 really strong in terms of patron visits to the library, patron visits to attendance to programs, and our circulation was up. Everything was going really, really well. We even had a planning calendar of tons of new programs that we were going to have. Maria and I were we were all gung-ho. It was going to be a good year. And then the pandemic happened. So I'll just kind of go over some of the things that happened pre-pandemic, and then we'll also go through some things that were post-pandemic or during the pandemic. In terms of our collection, we have a total of 16,970 physical items in our collection, which includes books and audiobooks, DVDs. The biggest change that we had to our collection this year was that we decided to discontinue our magazine collection, because we usually only had 1 or 2 people who were ever taking a magazine out, so it was not cost effective when it came to circulation. We added 355 physical items to the collection in 2020, which is a 46% decrease in what we did the year prior, which is because of the pandemic. Everything I'm going to say is because of the pandemic. We didn't have as many people coming into the library, therefore we didn't need as many physical items. So our resources were then reallocated to content, to our e-content. So we significantly increased the amount of money we spent so that people would have more access to e-content, books, audiobooks, videos, music, all of the other different things. Because we are in a consortium with Upper Hudson Library System, all of the electronic content goes into one big pile. So in the Upper Hudson system, we have 107,667 items available for patrons throughout the Upper Hudson system of e-content material, which is a 66% increase from the year before. So we definitely, all the libraries pulled through, and we're, trying as hard as we could to make sure we had enough materials available to everybody. As you can probably expect, we had a 48% decrease in circulation this year. We circulated only 9,851 items. Last year we were up in like 17,000 items were actually circulated. This also includes our electronic materials, so it's a pretty big number. We don't need to go into all of this stuff because it's not as much of an important thing. One of the interesting things that happened this year that we did find was that our collection was utilized much more by the other libraries in Upper Hudson, meaning we lent out a tremendous amount of materials to other libraries for their patrons to take out, which was fantastic. It was almost double usually or triple what we normally would send out. Part of this is because Albany was closed, so they relied on other libraries to fill in all those gaps. But it was just definitely, it was a nice thing to see that our collection is being used and that it is also still relevant, and that we have books and materials that people want within the entire system. So it was a good thing to see that we're where we need to be in terms of our collection and the development of that. We did get some new people, card holders this year. So we keep track of the statistics in terms of how many people come into the library and how many people every day. So each visit is each time a person enters the library, it's a separate visit. Excuse the alarms going off behind me. We have a total of 886 adults with library cards and 156 children with youth library cards. Unfortunately, 531 of those adult patrons have expired cards and 35 of the kids have expired cards. So, we have cards, but they've been expired. A lot of those expired cards are probably going to be renewed very soon because a lot of them have expired because of the pandemic. And once we get back into the swing of things, people will start renewing their accounts. So let's see. We were closed for a total of 12 weeks where nothing was happening. There was no curbside pickup. There was no in-person services. When we did have curbside pickup, between January 1st and March 14th, we had 1,743 visits, individual visits to the library. So in that small amount of time, we had 1,700 people, or 1,700 visits, I should say, not necessarily 1,700 people. Because some of those people might have come 2 or 3 times during 1 week. But that's a significant number for us. Obviously, March 14th through the June 14th was completely closed. When we opened back up to curbside visits, we actually had 500 curbside visits from June to October, which is a decent number for our tiny little town, especially for people who are only just going to come to the library, grab their stuff, and go. And then from October 12th to December 31st, we had 119 curbside visits and 320 visits by appointment. So, numbers not as what we would like them to be, but definitely people were still utilizing the library, which was extremely important. Programming. Programming during a pandemic was not easy. It really kind of showed us some of the different strengths that we have and some of the things that people were not interested in. And so like I said, before the pandemic, we had in January, February, and part of March alone, we had 19 programs for kids, 4 programs for teens, and 7 programs for adults, which is a busy schedule. And we had so 19 programs for kids, we had 194 people joining them. We had 30 teenagers, or a group of 30 different visits for these different programs for the teens, and 48 adults coming to some of the programs. When we shut our doors, I tried as hard as we could to keep things going virtually. We still had our story time went on virtually, and I tried tons of different programs that we could offer to people so that they could do things with it, still keep in connection. We had coffee side chats, and we tried story times. We tried a knitting club and a crafters club. And at the beginning, when everything was so new, people definitely attended. But then towards the end, when it got to be June, May, people were like, yeah, I think everyone was having Zoom fatigue and no one was interested in doing those kinds of things anymore. Not to mention the weather was beautiful and let's get out away from computers. So totally understandable. So we had programs that we tried to go. From July on, we offered very minimal online programming. We couldn't offer any in-person programming due to the pandemic. We did have online bake sales, so the SML has gone to the new and wonderful world of online selling things. So we are able to have some pretty successful bake sales actually that way. People are able to pre-order their stuff and we have it ready and set to go on a specific date. You pick up your things and you're all set. It's pretty easy. We did have two very successful blood drives, and I wanted to, as Jen already did, say thank you to the fire department for letting us use the space, as their hall is completely closed right now to everybody except for us when we need the blood drive, which is great. And we are having another one at the end of April, so if anyone wants to donate, please do so. Go to redcross.com and sign up. We then also did an online magic show, which only, I think, 9 or 10 kids showed up, not a huge amount. We did continue with summer reading, which I'll go into in a minute. Our community lantern, our jack-o'-lantern display was fantastic. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for the idea. We had take-home ornament projects where people would take things home and then bring them back to the libraries. Tried to engage people by having them bring stuff or take stuff home, bring it back, that we can kind of share in what the different talents are of the town. And Crosby, our reading dog, was also able to meet some kids in the month of September, outside, socially distanced, and hopefully this year we'll be able to do the same thing. The one program that has been going strong and has been a wonderful addition to the SML programming has been our book club, which has been spearheaded by Nettie and Sarah. And I can't say thank you enough for doing that, because it's a great group and we're always looking for new members if anyone wants to join us. But that has been online and has been a great success. So hopefully we can keep it going. The group meets once a month, so if anyone is interested, feel free to take a look at our website and you can get the link to get onto that. We also ran our virtual summer camp, which Rebecca, I'm sure, will go into in a little bit. And despite the pandemic, we did have 25 kids and 14 teenagers register for summer reading this year. We did the one magic show for kids to attend, but I gave them all packets and they completed their summer reading. Out of those 25 and 14 kids, the 16 children and 5 teenagers actually completed the program, which I was surprised by. I didn't really expect too many to do that, since it wasn't, a lot of the kids have to have that constant reminder while they're at the library, come in and get your books and don't forget to, record. But they recorded a total of 24,590 minutes of reading over the summer, which I applaud them. That's fantastic. It was a great number. So all the kids were able to come, and we normally have a big ice cream party with, you get your tickets to enter the raffle for the drawings of all the prizes. But this year we had to have a raffle, and they were able to come in, get their tickets, do the raffle, and then we called the people who won later on. So that's a lot of the stuff that happened in terms of programming and circulation and the bigger things at the library. I can just briefly go into a couple of things that we did. Our technology plan, which was a 3-year technology plan, was actually completed in February of 2020 during year 2, because we were able to decide that we did not need the 3rd computer. So we now have an updated technology plan. Our computers are all completely up to date and they are as new as you can get. Well, back into 2020. So that was a great thing to have. We did a bunch of building maintenance. Furnaces were cleaned, heat shields were put in for exhaust pipes that were close to wooden structures. Front steps were repaired, shelving was put into the attic, and the attic was finally cleaned out. The other thing, we tried to start working with the U.S. Census Bureau to help with the census count, but because of the pandemic, that all fizzled out. We did try and keep things as normal for staff. They were all paid during the pandemic, which was a huge thing for everybody. They were extremely grateful, and it definitely helped. Even though they couldn't come to work, they were still given their salaries just so that we could make sure that things stayed good. We installed plexiglass barriers, we acquired PPE and hand sanitizer, and we removed all of the toys from the kids area, created socially distanced tables, implemented new cleaning protocols, and quarantining schedules for returned materials. So basically, we went full pandemic at the very beginning and tried to make sure that we had everything the way it needed to be, so we could welcome people into the library as soon as we possibly could, which was unfortunately not until October. Patrons definitely responded to our curbside pickup services, which was not something we had ever done before. And it's something we still do today. There are some people who are not yet comfortable going into places, so they continue to utilize that service, which works out just wonderfully. We also did run the summer food program this year, and guidelines were changed because of the pandemic, so it was a lot easier. We were able to give kids food by just doing a curbside pickup again. Normally you had to eat the food at the site, you couldn't leave with the food, but this year they allowed us to give 2 meals on one day and 3 meals on another day, and we were able to just make sure that everybody had enough food for 5 days a week. And we have to say thank you to Taylor Meyer and Jessica Ronte for running that, because that was a huge amount of work, and they did a great job getting as much food as we could to all the kids. Our staffing stayed the same, except we did in August, Linda Belisle, one of our wonderful staff members, decided to resign, which was partly pandemic related. So we have not decided to hire anyone at this time to fill her spot, because it seems like our current staffing schedule is working pretty well. Let's see. Where else am I? We did open again for in-person browsing by appointment in October, and people were super excited and happy to be back. We did not ever have a problem with people overwhelming the library. We didn't have any issues with people not wanting to follow the COVID protocols. Everyone was very happy to wear masks and sanitize, and I think everyone was just very grateful to be allowed in the library again, because people really did miss being in the building. And our community room continues to be closed. We're not having anybody using that, unfortunately, but as things get better, we'll definitely open it back up again. And then I just kind of put in the last of my report here that despite this being a year like no other, with challenges that we've never encountered before, we tried to get as many services as we possibly could, continuing to give out to the staff, or excuse me, to the community. And I wanted to say the staff were fantastic in handling and dealing with all of the changes that were required, and they were and all the challenges that they faced because of all this pandemic stuff. So I just wanted to thank them personally for all the work that they did, because this library would not be what it is without all of my awesome staff members. So it's a great team, and everyone works really well together. I really, really appreciate it. The other thing I also I wanted to just mention is our story walk on the Corkscrew Rail Trail was something that was another huge, huge endeavor. And I have to say thank you to all of you who helped dig holes and then find out that the holes were in the wrong spots and we had to dig more holes or come up with other solutions, because that was a huge pain. And I can't say thank you enough for that, because we were digging holes in the middle of August when it was extremely hot and not pleasant to do. But the story walk has been a huge success. I'm hoping that once I'm recovered and back into things, I'll be changing the book around. And then we're all going to do 2 more story walks, the one at the library itself. And then thank you so much to Mr. Dara, who is allowing us to do one across the street on the fields, which will be another place that hopefully we can have kids, walking around the edge of the field while other people are playing and doing things, and it'll just be one more way to get literacy out there to the kids in the community. So I think that's pretty much it. If anyone has any questions, I'm open to seeing what I can do to answer. Okay.
Any questions? Okay, well, there'll still be time at the end for any comments. So we'll go ahead and we will move along. Thank you, Kim, very much for a very good report. Melanie will now provide the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Jen. So like Jen mentioned, I am the newly appointed trustee as of 4 days ago. So we're jumping in with both feet here. I feel like it's a little difficult to run through our treasurer's report, since I know not everyone has access to them because of our website glitch, but I can kind of just go through the highlights here instead of reading off a bunch of numbers to you. In 2018, our board, at the leadership of our past president, was able to secure the Chapter 414 vote, which provides us with $95,000 a year in tax funding through the town. This has given the library a secure financial footing to plan from. We've been able to do some much needed improvements to our building, equipment, and furniture, and to create a savings program where we're setting money aside for some big projects that we know are coming up in the future, like painting, putting things aside for repairs, and creating a special projects fund. Currently, our planning committee is working on making some decisions around how we're going to move forward with our special projects account and what are our top priorities of things to work on in the future. But when you are able to access our financial reports, just looking back over the last 5 years comparison of our operating income to our operating expenses, our income the last 2 years since we've had the 414 income has been almost exactly stable. Our operating expenses have increased a little bit. Kim talked about some of that in her report, that we have been able to start doing a lot of repairs and upgrades to the technology and different things inside the library. We were also able to give all of our staff a raise, which is something that the board thought was very important to do with our new financial future. So our numbers for this past year, we have things kind of detailed out in our plan that you'll be able to access on the website tomorrow, but our income for 2020 was $123,059, and our expenses were $109,399. And that kind of just shows how we have been able to keep our expenses lower than what we're bringing in, which has provided the opportunity for us to save for those things that I was talking about, as well as provide more support to our staff and the things in our building that need attention. So if anybody has any specific questions, I can go into a little more detail, but those are the highlights of the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Melanie. If there's no questions, we'll go ahead and we'll move forward with Rebecca and the Youth Committee report. Rebecca?
Hi, I'm Rebecca Corbett, and I'm the chair of the Youth Committee. The Youth Committee works in cooperation with the town to put on events for children's and teen in Stephentown. We don't organize all of the children's events at the library. Our main goal is the Halloween party, the Easter party, the summer camp, and some other teen events. So we kind of have a special relationship where we bridge the town board with the library board. Usually I have a lot of events to report on. As you might imagine, this year, many of our events were skipped. In the spring, we were not able to hold an Easter party. We did try to do something for the children in the summer. We could not hold in-person camp, but the town was very gracious and flexible in working with us to provide a virtual camp for the children. We ended up serving 23 children, and it was 3 days a week. We provided them with supplies for crafts and other activities that they would pick up once a week at the library, take home, and then maybe do on their own at home or join us in a Zoom meeting to complete. We were able to be very creative with that. We offered everything from kitchen science, Lego building. We even had a local teen present a dance class a few times for the children. Well, it wasn't ideal. It was something for the children to do over the summer, and it did help them connect with other children, even though it was only on Zoom. Our director and assistant director, Jennifer and Taylor, also helped participate in the summer food program. And we're grateful for the town for supporting us in that. We service 12 to 21 kids each week with grab and go breakfasts and lunches. So we kind of filled in where we saw need in our community. We were not able to hold a Halloween event, unfortunately. We did help with the pumpkin carving, but we were not able to hold our traditional Halloween party. In the year to come, we're looking to able to offer more programs and services. We already hosted a different sort of Easter event where we had the Easter Bunny hand out to-go bags with lots of spring activities such as books and crafts. We ended up handing out 125 bags to children, I think from Stephentown and beyond. So that was a great success. We are starting our process of planning a summer camp. We are hoping it will be able to be in person this year, but look different from what we traditionally do. So hopefully we'll be able to stay outside and still meet and get together and have fun. In the summer camp, although we were not able to do it with our virtual summer camp, we also usually do provide teenagers the opportunity for employment and volunteering. And we hope to be able to do that again this year. So I guess, like everybody else has said, it's been a year that was different than any other year. We were glad that we were able to provide something for, part of the year. And again, we really thank the town for being flexible and working with us to adapt and change to the circumstances.
Any questions for Rebecca? Rebecca, I want to thank you in advance for, I know the upcoming planning for summer camp is going to be quite different and quite challenging. And probably there's going to be 2 million questions that we have to think through and answer. So thank you in advance for continuing to lead the youth committee through that.
Thank you.
Okay, we are at the point of the meeting where we can open things up for public comment. So if anyone would like to unmute and provide any questions, feedback, comments, we'd be happy to entertain that now. Or if you'd like to all go make your dinners, that's understandable as well.
I would just like to say, well done, you all. You're just doing a bang-up job, and I'm so proud of our wonderful library. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you, Pam. We appreciate that.
Robin, I see you just joined us, and I'd like to congratulate you on your brilliant victory tonight.
Well, thank you.
It was unanimous, in case you're wondering.
I had a little inkling, but thank you.
Any other comments? Again, we appreciate everyone who was able to come this evening. We know no one's eager for yet another virtual meeting on a Sunday night at 6 o'clock, no less. So, but we're really glad to be able to connect with you, share what has happened the previous year, and we look forward to having more opportunities this year to connect, maybe sometimes in person. All right, if there's no further comment, I think we just need a motion to adjourn.
I will so move.
Thank you. And second?
I will second.
Thank you, Scott. All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. We will adjourn this meeting. We will look forward to perhaps an in-person one next year. Let's keep our fingers crossed. All right, thank you, everyone.